All right, we're on with John Harris, Tennessee Firearms Association MorningLine, talking about guns and violence and what, if anything, limits or how you can address the issue. And obviously there's gun control issues, but then there's also the issues, and I think John really pushes hard on this, is keeping it out of the hands of the people that are going to do things that they shouldn't.
And identifying who they are.
And that's the trick, but I mean, I think that's obviously part of the equation. We got some more calls for you, John. We'll go to Hoyt. Good morning, Hoyt. Hi, Hoyt.
Hello.
Hey, go ahead, sir.
This is my first time calling. What you just said there was interesting. Most of the shootings in Nashville and in all the major cities happen to seem like by black people. I don't mean to be discriminatory, but what is it, 97% of all the shootings in Nashville are caused by black folks?
Well, I don't know that statistic is accurate in any way, and I'm not sure where you're going with that. But this type of violence, whatever period, it doesn't know color, race, creed, or anything. It happens across the board, and it's certainly not something exclusive to African Americans or any other race.
Well, I do think, though, from the caller's comments, if you look at the FBI data, because the FBI does track the demographics of both the victims and the aggressors, that you see trends that are gender-based, that you see trends that are age-based, you see trends that are geographically based, and you see trends that are racially.
Well, I would think, and with the racial issue on that, to me, I just don't buy it. To me, it's socioeconomic.
It may be.
Yeah.
And regardless of the causal factor behind it, there are trends that show, just like we would see, set the gun aside, the arrest rate in a particular area, let's say Nashville versus Chicago, will be, will have demographic data that maybe shows one race or one gender is arrested more than others. Or convicted more than others. Now that may be because they can hire private attorneys versus public defenders. I don't know. But I mean, there's an element there where those demographics are showing that it is not gender blind or age blind or race blind. Something is going on sociologically that makes the demographics vary.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this, most of the shootings, males.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's not even close. Women are nowhere near as close to as violent as men, period. And men are killing a lot of women. So yeah, that's for sure one thing. Let's go next to JC. Hi, JC. Are you there, JC?
Hey, Nick.
Hey, JC, go ahead, sir.
Y'all talking about, people mentally.
Yeah.
Well, one of the mental things would be obsessive tendencies. Why would that person need that gun? He would have to be obsessed because you've heard the guys here. I got to have my guns and stuff. The other thing is that you look at the people who have been shot by these weapons that they don't want to call assault weapons based on that word said you shouldn't have it, basically, anyway. But I'm surprised that the people hadn't got together and filed suit against the NRA because they are the one that pushed politics in order to give people those guns.
Well, NRA, like any other organization, has the right to lobby for what they believe in. As far as, it's funny, you talk about assault weapon, and I know what you mean, the designation that hits people's heads. In my opinion, any weapon that's used to assault someone is an assault weapon, and I don't care if it's a rifle or a handgun.
Well, you're looking at a verb versus an adjective.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say, though, then, for folks, we talk about AK-47s, and you are correct, it's often misidentified sometimes in news coverage what is or is not an assault weapon. From your perspective as a gun expert, what would you say the definition of an assault weapon is?
An assault weapon is a weapon specifically defined for offensive military use.
Military.
Like the full autos and the burst fires. A gun like an AR-15 that we commonly see misidentified as an assault weapon is being classified by the lay public as that because of the way it looks and the similarity of look but not function to the military M16. Because it's literally the AR-15 rates of fire and whatnot are more in line with what people might buy for a deer hunting rifle.
So what should we call them?
They're sporting rifles.
Sporting rifles would be an AK-47.
Yeah, that's more
A 30-06 rifle would be a sporting rifle?
It could be a sporting rifle.
Okay, and whereas an M16 is an assault rifle.
They're considered assault weapons.
Okay, let's go next to Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Are you there, Sherry?
Yes, good morning, Nick.
Good morning,
John. Thanks for being on the show. I just have something I want to say. You know, what about the justice system? Let's strengthen it. Let's look at it. Let's look at when these people are arrested and they go to the penitentiaries. Instead of letting these people just sit, do nothing but be fed. They have their house cleaned for them and everything. You know, everybody says chain gang was not good, but it worked back in the day. Put them back into, not necessarily chained together or anything, but let's make them start working and, you know, having something to do in this prison other than to sit around, play cards, and everything else that they do, looking for more crime and having people on the outside doing more stuff. Strengthen the penal system. Let's get people in here that's going to hold to it, and let's pay them. I mean,
okay. Well, and I don't want to get too far off base. I mean, I think I like her idea of helping inmates, you know, get it together so maybe if they get out, they're not committing more crimes. But I don't know how that would apply toward the gun issues we're talking about. Do you think, with regard to laws, in terms of, do the laws need to be any tougher to crack down on folks that illegally get guns, or are they tough enough in your opinion?
They're tough enough.
Okay.
The issue is not are the laws or are there adequate laws on the books. The issue more commonly comes down to a discussion. It's a more complicated discussion of the parole system, the pretrial diversion systems, the recidivism systems, all of which are popular. Pretrial diversion and all that with the left. You know, let's not lock them up necessarily. Those areas are areas where, because I think a lot of this crime, the violent crime in particular, and not necessarily, I mean, you're going to have your one-offs that this doesn't fit, like the Parkland shooter. But a lot of the violent crime is coming from career criminals, recidivists. And we're not keeping them, that's easy to predict. They've shown a propensity. We're not keeping them, we're not reforming them when they're in the system,
right,
or we're letting them back out into the public too early.
With violent crimes, absolutely, they need to be kept more. And let's stop locking up so many people that are just caught with marijuana.
Yeah, marijuana. I mean,
but we're still locking people up sometimes.
Like crazy. Well, they're easier to control.
Yeah.
You just got to solve the munchies.
Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, good morning. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me this morning. I'm enjoying the conversation here, and definitely has intrigued me to give you a call. So I just wanted to make a comment. I actually carry a firearm, and I am licensed and permitted. However, about 25 years ago, I'm 46 years old. 25 years ago, you know, I stopped carrying. I carried when I was 19 was when I got my first permit. And then I stopped because I got into Christ. I received Christ in my life, and I felt like I didn't need a firearm to carry on me any longer. And a lot of Christians kind of feel that way from where I'm from. But about 5 years ago, I mean, things just turned so for the worse when all the shootings in the churches started and things like that, where that just prompted me to go into prayer and say, hey, Lord, you know, what should I do to protect my family? So I actually did go back and get a permit, and I do carry now for protection purposes only, of course.
Sure.
But I don't believe that it is the guns at all. I don't believe in overstepping our Second Amendment. I don't believe in any of that. I am a black man. I have seen a lot of my friends die from guns. I heard the comment from Hoyt there about the black individuals killing each other, which is absolutely true. But again, violence has no color at all to it. And basically, I believe it comes down to just education, pure education. We have all these things that we teach our children and teach them growing up. Why not implement gun violence even in our school systems and really educating how these guns work and the damage they do? All the violence we see on TV with the arcade games, I do believe that plays a role in some people's lives, and as far as being numb to the fact of killing and murders, because you see so much blood, you see everything everything on TV. So,
Oh, you also see a lot of stuff in the video games. The thing is, it's the parents. I have a lot of friends who have weapons in their home and hunt, and they have children, and they've done a terrific job of educating their children. And that's really the role of it. I'm not sure the schools so much, because some parents, don't have guns, and they may not want their children's, they should certainly, every child should be taught about maybe how to properly handle a gun if they encounter one somehow, and safety issues. But yeah, parents should play a key role in all of that.
Well, we've advocated within TFA that it go beyond that and that it actually be brought back into the school system.
In what form? How so then? If I was in a class of this and maybe wasn't someone who owned a gun, or maybe my parents didn't, for whatever reason, we just didn't own a gun, I would still be educated in the handling of one?
Well, there's a spectrum of what's optional. For example, right now in Tennessee, Tennessee supports through the TWRA the scholastic shooting program. Now that's predominantly shotgun shooters with clay targets and whatnot, but it's seen as a middle school and high school sport that's organized and supported by the state. There are some schools that have small bore 22 caliber or air rifles that are taught as recreational classes, or they're the equivalent of a golf extracurricular class. What we've advocated for is going beyond that, and you look at black and white photos from the 50s. You see in PE class all the kids stretched out on the gym floor shooting air rifles, BB guns, back when it was still not deemed socially inappropriate. But what we've advocated for is that we, sort of like with driver training, which is an optional course in school, is that we have firearms training. Well, I mean, it may be presented in the context like where my daughter went to school as a hunter safety course. Yeah. It could be presented in the context of an extracurricular as an alternative to golf or tennis. Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad idea. Just to educate, now maybe not advocating one way or the other, but instructing, and I think that's smart, because some kids, there's a fascination by it, they encounter a weapon, they don't know what they're doing, bad things happen. Listen, we've got to run, but you're awesome. Thank you for coming on today. We'll see you again soon, all right? When she calls.
When she calls, Mary Elena. We'll take a break, be back with a programming note right after this.
This week